Thank you so much for purchasing a pack of playing cards. That's hard to say. These are a handpan resource that should help you play your handpan. It's all full of loads of harmony, loads of information, but presented in a fun and colourful way. You don't need to know anything before you use these. They are ideal for beginners, and they're also ideal for more expert players to get a bunch more out of your instrument. So let's open her up. Inside, you should have a pack of playing cards. On the back is a really useful piece of information. This is the notes of your handpan and what degree of the scale they are. So in this case, it's a D chord. So that's the first degree of the scale, number 1, and 2 is E, F, etc. This is really helpful if you're talking to another musician and you want to say, let's play chord 1. They'll be like, oh yeah, I know what that means, or chord 5, those sorts of things. So knowing those numbers is a helpful thing. Or they might say, let's play D minor. And you might go, I don't know what chord that is. Never fear, it's time to shuffle through the cards. So they may arrive out of order, but you can see these little numbers in the corner. So it's useful to sort them into the numerical order at first. And I've also included a couple of bits of information inside the pack and some QR codes and that. So what is this card saying? There's a lot of information on there. This shows you how to read that chord. So if you know your pan script, you know which notes you can play. You can play the one in the center, the one to the side, these ones, and those diagonal ones. That's the thing that I use the most frequently. I glance down at the pan script and I know the full list of options available to me. I don't have to play every single one of those notes at every time, but I can choose from any of the notes within that chord and it's going to sound great. And what are those notes? Maybe you want to find out. So you can look along this bottom and I'm telling you which letter names make up that scale. So I've got my D, I've got my F, and I've got 2 A's in this case. Together, that makes a type of chord. It could be major or diminished, but in this case, it's minor. And I've shown that as well with a Roman numeral, which is just another way of displaying the very same information. I use lowercase, which shows that it's minor, and the Roman numeral of 1. So it's good to practice your Roman numerals as well. I've also said the shortening, the kind of abbreviation way of writing this chord, which is a big D and a small m. That means D minor. So these are 3 ways of expressing the very same information. You might want to use any of them or none of them when you're talking about them, but they're all here for you for super quick reference. I've also told you it's a D chord 10. If you don't have 10, you've only got 9 notes, then you'll just be ignoring this extra note, this extra C. You may have more or less notes than I've written around here, and that's all right. Just don't use any notes that you don't have. Or if you've got extra notes, you can grab a pen or a Sharpie and draw in extra lines and crosses. I use crosses to show notes that are underneath or on top. So it's totally up to you. Please do personalize them. I love seeing people use pan script to show different things. If the card has a blue border, that shows you it's a minor chord. That's all of the information on one little card packed in. A pink border is a diminished chord. We don't actually use this very much at all. So it's unfortunate that it's a second chord. It doesn't come up very much. So don't worry if you play that and it sounds a bit janky. We don't use it loads, but here it is. And the symbol for that happens to be a small little circle or the word dim. Our red border means it's a major chord. So that means it's F, A, C. They've got a major interval between those first 2 notes rather than a minor interval. You don't need to know that, but I've included it. And this is really helpful because instead of going through numerically or alphabetically, you could go through by the type of chords and say, I want to find a happy chord. Let me search through and find a red outline. That's going to be a happy major chord. We've also got these lime green cards. These are super duper fun. These are used to show an open chord. So instead of having 3 different pitches, there's only 2 different pitches. And this kind of gives like a Celtic, open, like medieval sound often, or it's called like a power chord in guitar. So using these is really, really fun and effective. And you can also use these open chords to change the tonality. If you have an F, you can slot it in. That third note could be a major or a minor, so an F or an F sharp. That's an advanced level sort of skill, but it might be interesting for you. So these open chords are so fun. You can play around with them. And you can totally slot in. Supposing you have this in your song, you can exchange a D for another type of D, replacing it with a lime green chord instead of a blue one, because it's the same letter name. Let's keep going through. After our lime green cards, we come to maybe my favorite, the purple, dark purple. These are the 7th chords. So these have 4 different pitches in. They might be minor 7, we have half diminished and major 7. These have different symbols in the corners and on the bottom, and maybe look quite overwhelming. There's a lot of info in there, but all you need to do is use your ears. You can't play all, 6 of these different notes? You're not expected to. You might play them as an arpeggio or a pattern, but you will hear some really interesting effects. And again, if you trade out your D for a D7 or a D, open D, D5, you're going to get some really different effects into your pieces of music. So start exploring 7 chords and you can really level up your playing quite easily. The 7 chords also contain a bit more tension, so you might not like the sounds of them or all of them, and that's also fine. It's a really fun and interesting thing to explore. If that seems like a lot of information so far already, don't panic. Just using this amount of chords and learning these is a huge first step. Like, you are going to be doing incredibly if you know these chords off by heart or have met them before. If you've kind of mastered them, whatever that means, you can slot in these purple chords as well. That's so much information just in these 18 different cards. So a huge amount of intel. Don't be overwhelmed by those so far. But if you love the sound or you're doing really well so far, you can also bring in these yellow and orange ones. These are the suspended chords, and these are really interesting types of chords. These are chords that want to resolve or move somewhere else. They're really good for motion and movement. So they're really, really good fun. And they're slightly different chords than you might have met before. They look a little bit unusual, but they sound really cool. So I've got my suspended 4 chord, which just means instead of the middle note being 3, as it was before, you can really see here, the first notes are the same, but that middle note is different. So instead of it being a 3, it's actually going to be a 4. Or for my sus2, which is this card, instead of it being a 3, we come down to a 2. Yeah. So the outside notes are the same, 1 and 5, and our middle note can be a 2, 3, or a 4. And just to really show what I'm talking about, let me find my D5. So these 2 notes are the same, but what's in the middle is going to be changing. You can really see, and you can see just by looking at the pictures, quite how similar they are, but with a few differences. And this is a really great way to study chords. Find all of the chords with the same letter and hear the difference in them. I can explain with words the difference, but it's way better, it's way more effective if you start to play the difference. You'll hear, oh, a D minor sounds like this, but the sus2 is like this, or the 4 or the open. That is hands-on learning. That's really fun. And you understand the point of these different chords, the function. So a great way to use the chord cards, is to find each of the same letter, or you might group them into the same color. Or you might take that idea of learning out the window, give them a really good shuffle up, and just choose some chords. I love building a progression just like this. I have no idea what this is going to sound like, but I can play through it. So that's a really fun thing to do. And I've used this to write songs. I've used this random element to learn more about chords. Or you might go through again, be like, oh, actually, I know I do want to start with a purple, but I didn't like the sound of that. So let me find another purple. Let's try this one. Nah, let's try that one. Oh yeah, that sounds cool. And then you make your progression. Or you might be going through and going, this sounds really cool, but I'm going to swap these two over. All right, let me hear it now. And you have a super visual representation of the way that these different chords sound. You could also use it as a kind of like look, cover, check thing. When we were learning how to spell, we always did this at school. You'd write the word out, look at it, and then like cover it up and try and play it. So you can do the same thing. Let's say I want to learn an F major 7 chord. Have a look at it, cover it up, play it, turn back over. Was that right? Was it right? You know, those kinds of ways of practicing are really good because it gets us off a screen, even though I love screens, I'm talking to you through a screen, but it gets you away from that way of learning and really hands-on and visual. So those are some of the really fun things that you can do with the chords. I'm sure there are so many more. But yeah, I have always been so passionate about harmony, so I'm so glad that there's like a physical manifestation of the cards and you can get your hands on them. If I haven't done the scale that suits you yet, don't worry, there are ways. I've made these open packs which you can fill in. They have a bit less information on them, so you've got to do a bit more of the legwork, but you can make them work for you, and you get these like really lovely kind of hand-drawn situations. And I'm making new packs all the time, so get in the comments and let me know which scale I should do next. Thanks again for supporting me, and I hope you enjoy your playing cards.